Welcome back to another episode, everyone. Today's episode is heavily inspired by the work of Matthew Husey, who is a brilliant personal development coach in today's space. This episode is really going to focus on building off of the information that I shared with you last time about fulfillment, finding fulfillment, and I want to dive into the concept of self-love as well, because I think that's something that is very closely tied with our feeling of fulfillment, is whether we actually like ourselves or not. So one of the first things I want to discuss is just the feeling and the concept of being contentment. Now, Matthew posed a very, very simple and very kind of elegant way to look at this. It's more of a frame of mind shift, starting to look at your life as being happy enough instead of feeling like things are never enough. Because he argues that the constant pursuit of the next goal, the next level, the next relationship, the next whatever, can leave you feeling unhappy or that there's no satisfaction with the current moment or anything. And I think that this is, it takes away from our opportunity to actually engage in possible opportunities because we think that we're never going to be satisfied. But instead, he posed a very brilliant frame shift and saying that maybe when we can start accepting and being content and being happy enough with what we currently have, it actually puts us in a better position to try and experiment with new things that are maybe outside of our comfort zone because we have that section to fall back on. Instead of this underlying stress of needing to make the next move, now we approach it from a completely different perspective. We approach it being calm, knowing that, should it work? Fantastic. But if it doesn't matter because we still are content and happy enough with what the level is that we're currently at. I thought that was a brilliant frame of mind, and I really think that that's something that when we take a step back and kind of re-look at possible opportunities or situations that we find ourselves in, it can actually really help calm the situation down before we make any actionable steps. He also thoroughly describes finding contentment and happiness by just being more present in the moment. Again, I think one of the biggest things that people are facing in modern times is the constant need for more and more and more. And when we're not able to actually sit in the present with ourselves, appreciating what there is around us, then we really forget what a beautiful feeling it is to just be. You know what I mean? There's a lot of anxiety and pressure that comes along with, trying to be successful and trying to find the next big thing. But it's important that we can strike a balance between being able to be present and also keeping our eyes on some bigger prize that we might want to achieve. One of the best quotes that I heard was a story actually from Jim Carrey, who was on a talk show at some point, and he mentioned that he was asked if he was going to do another movie, and he said that he didn't want to. He said that he was okay. He had won enough awards. He had made enough movies. He'd made enough money. He didn't feel the need, the pressure to make another one. He didn't say that he never would, but he just said that he would come back on his terms, again, because he was happy enough with where he was, and he wanted to divert his attention to something more creative. And I think that is a very powerful frame of mind to approach any new situation with. Now, one of the key things that Matt highlights is that life doesn't provide the perfect circumstances for happiness, and he really encourages people to practice enjoying the journey, even the challenges and the disappointments, because in hindsight, they're not going to matter on our deathbed. The things that matter are really whatever satisfies us, whatever fulfills us. This goes back to the whole underlying topic. I think it's very important that even when we set goals, we're able to disconnect our emotional state from those goals, from the outcome. Because again, like we've already discussed in one of the previous episodes, if you are driven only by your outcomes, then you're going to be chasing your tail for your whole life. If you're contingent on outcome, then you'll never enjoy the process. And the process is 99% of it. 99.999% of it. The target is just that one instant where you accomplish something. So if you can't disconnect yourself and enjoy every step of the way, then you're going to find yourself feeling dissatisfied with every aspect of life for the rest of your life. And I think that's very, very sad when you see people that are struggling to find this gratification, this satisfaction within themselves, but just because they're contingent on getting the next award or getting the next paycheck or getting the next whatever it is. Now, one of the other things that Matt talks about is identity confidence and how it underpins surface level confidence. Now, he describes identity confidence as being made up of various aspects of our lives, which we have derived confidence from. So, skills, relationships, personal achievements, all of the quote unquote superficial things. But he makes a very important point that people often come to identify too strongly with one specific aspect of their lives, or a small set of skills, let's say, which makes us very vulnerable when we lose that. Now, I want you to take, for example, like a professional sports player or someone in bodybuilding or whatnot. They get an injury, and all of a sudden their entire life falls apart because their life was contingent on that one thing that they identified with. And this is scary, right? Like I feel like many people, myself included, I feel like there are a few things that if I were to have lost in my life, like my, any sort of ability that I really feel like I'm good at, then my entire life would be contingent on that. And it's a scary thought to think to lose it. So I think it's very important to look at the set of skills that each and every one of us have, put it on a matrix and see, okay, where am I lacking? Which side of my life do I think that, I actually do need to start deriving a little bit more confidence from, or practicing in that area so I don't feel like I'm only weighing everything that I am, my whole being on this one skill or attribute or anything like that. I think that's incredibly, incredibly important also for deriving confidence. Because if we are only confident based on our ability, based on a certain set of skills or whatnot, then that's very subject to change because you never know what might happen tomorrow. Again, if you're deriving your confidence based on your physical look because you're a gym addict or a gym rat or something, and you're very proud of the body that you've built, but then all of a sudden you're injured or God forbid something worse, then we need to also be able to find self-confidence that goes beyond that, goes deeper than that. And this is where Matt starts to criticize the concept of self-love. And he suggests that it needs a rebranding, to say the least. I think the reason for this is because loving ourselves, again, often stems from an identity, which holds its weight from traits or attributes that we practice on a day-to-day basis, but it's nothing fixed. They're inconsistent. And I think this actually poses a very interesting question. Because if we only love ourselves based on traits that, say it's your kindness, or say that it's your honesty, or say that it's your work ethic, then what happens on the days where you're dishonest? Or what happens on the days that you're lazy? Or what happens on the days that you're just, not the happiest or not the nicest? Then all of a sudden what? Do you not love yourself anymore? So it needs to be something deeper than that. Instead, we need to focus on what we consider core confidence. The confidence that truly defines who we are and the way that we accept ourselves the way that we are inside. Now, obviously, that's a lot easier said than done. That takes a lot of practice, a lot of work, especially if you're not proud of where you are right now. But that's part of the process, and that's why I hope to encourage people to be a little bit more reflective about this field of their life. One of the big things that Matt argues in terms of a reframing of self-love is the way that we perceive self-love. So one of the more common models, or the most common thing that people think of when we think of self-love, is almost through a romantic perspective, where we need to fall in love with ourselves and have desire for ourselves. But the problem with this model is that desire needs space. If we are always with ourselves, then we will never have the space, the distance apart to have that desire grow. So we need to start looking at this from a different perspective. He proposes, for example, looking at it from a parent-child relationship perspective, where if you were to ask a parent why they love their kid, or it doesn't have to necessarily be a child, it could be your childhood pet, let's say, like your dog or your cat. It could be the ugliest dog or the most the most mangy-looking thing, but if you ask someone, hey, like I have a better dog, do you want this dog instead? They're going to be like, what are you talking about? That's my dog. It's my dog. There is no reasoning behind it. It's just a deep, ingrained love. And that is, I think, something that we should start trying to perceive through our own lens as well. Building on this, instead of focusing on liking yourself as a noun, we need to focus on loving ourselves as a verb. In other words, as an ongoing practice, an ongoing process that takes work. Now, a really great way to look at this is disconnect your physical being from who you are in your head. Let's call them two separate entities, okay? Your mind, or your spirit, your energy, you as a being versus the physical body. Now, we have all been given a human. we are responsible for taking care of that human. Now, if we were to look at this from a relationship between friends, let's say, or a caregiver or a guardian or something, it doesn't matter whether you like that person or that thing in that given moment. It's your job to take care of it. So I think that this is a brilliant way that we can start looking at self-love, because it doesn't mean that we need to like ourselves at a given point. We could be in a very low spot, but if we acknowledge that, hey, I've been given one human only. My one job is to take care of it. So I'm going to take care of it, which means you're not contingent on liking yourself. You can be in the bottom of a hole of depression, but you will acknowledge that you still need to take care of it, as if you were to be taking care of a loved one that is desperately sick or that can't take care of themselves. We need to be there for ourselves. And that becomes a job. And it's a very important job that we actually take seriously. Another very important thing that we need to discuss is that true self-acceptance and self-love starts by making peace with where you're starting. Without it, achievements or milestones or anything along the way will not be felt as being genuine. If we can't accept that, for example, we are in a financially difficult spot and we want to portray this air of, we actually have money, we're fine, we're balling, whatever, then whenever you actually make some progress in that field, you're not going to feel genuine, because you know that you're lying to yourself and those around you. For us to actually make true progress, we need to start identifying where our starting point is. And this is a very hard thing to do. People are often afraid of stripping back these layers that this facade that they've put up, because they're worried that it's going to be at the cost of their ego, and their reputation. They're going to feel like they're being stripped back to their infancy, And a lot of people are embarrassed by that fact. They don't want to let other people know that they need help or that they're struggling or anything like that. But it's important that when we actually do take that risk, we do take that step, even the smallest step forward from there can feel miraculous, because we can finally approach and make corrections to things that may be outstanding for years. If there's anything that for example, deep down, it's that little bit of imposter syndrome, for example. You've gotten all this way, but deep down that maybe I shouldn't actually have deserved that, or maybe I shouldn't be in the position that I am. But one of the things that we need to do is take a step back and say, well, shit, if I'm here already, and I know that I need to get good at this, or I know that I need to correct this, then I need to accept that I am starting from that point right there and build off of it. And last but not least, I really want to highlight that we need to be adaptable to situations. There is never going to be, like I said in the beginning, a perfect opportunity for growth and happiness and, joy and all that kind of thing. It's our job to be prepared, to be ready to change and adapt to new situations without being so rigid that we fall apart the second things start going awry. Things don't follow exactly the plan. And this can be accomplished by focusing on your personal criteria of happiness. So those can be things that are, like I said, disconnected from accomplishments or achievements or physical things or whatever, but it can be looking at wanting to have successful relationships or happy relationship with friends. It could be feeding your mind. It could be keeping yourself organized or being appreciative of other people or being grateful. It's things that you can do on a daily basis with yourself without the need for other people or an external influence. And that way, no matter what happens, even if you are to be, taken down a path that you're maybe not expecting, then you can still look at it for what it is, an opportunity to learn and grow and adapt from. I think all of these points together really highlight that we need to reframe self-love in a way that we can start really nailing down what the core issues are that have prevented us from feeling this self-love in the first place. Guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed this topic, and I really think that this material is something that a lot more people need a bit of a gentle reminder in pursuing. I feel like many people are not really taking the time to sit with themselves and actually accept that there might be work that needs to be done, or that maybe this is coming from a place of fear or whatnot. But I do really have faith in everybody. I really believe that people can accomplish far more than they think. They just need to take those first baby steps. So that's everything, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I cannot wait to see everyone in the next one. Peace.